Welcome, everyone, once more to Business Without Anxiety, where we speak about how to take care of anxiety in a practical way, how to create a platform where people can share things without hesitation, and just talk about some stories from each other's life. And as usual, we have our coach, Inayat Kanji. Welcome, Coach Kanji. Oh, look at that, Mr. K. Awesome. That's the first time you have showed that one on the show. Thank you for sharing that. Just for our audience, every week we pick up some topic related to generalized anxiety. May have seen some of our topics were related to money, some were related to work, some were related to childhood issues, and so forth. And thanks for so many nice questions that our audiences are sending. What we do is we anonymize these questions. So when we are answering them, the person who has asked knows that we have answered it, so that you feel a sense of safety in sending these questions. We all had life problems because of which we have generalized anxiety, but there are ways to take care of it and how we manage it. And hence, we are trying to make this a topic that we can talk about more commonly than feeling a sense of shame or stigma. Brilliant. With that in mind, Coach Kanji, what is today's topic all about?
Today's topic is an interesting one which I've been reflecting upon this week as I've been working with clients. As you see this morning, I'm in sporting attire, or this afternoon now. So it's one of pain and anxiety,
Okay,
physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, the
right.
way it impacts one, and how it relates then to our mind overthinking or somewhat catastrophizing even to future scenarios, or
Mhm.
even from moment to moment. The next moment one is worrying about. Essentially, that's how I describe anxiety. It's just a lack of willingness to let go of control over what is yet to be, and how that stress of exhausting one's mind and overthinking about potential possibilities of failure and negativity, or whatever else it might be,
Even
fear.
before they have
Um,
happened, even
yeah,
before they have happened.
exactly. I call it bad movies being played in my head that I'm not getting an Oscar for, right? So in in essence, that's
So
anxiety. But
I
as
call
I
it
say,
praying
yeah.
for what you don't want.
I like that. I like that. I like
Really,
that.
people do it with uh, sincerity. Even
Yes.
there is a saying that I wish people believed as much in their dreams as much they believe in their fears,
Mm.
because when we are worrying, our brain is very sincere about those worrying, and the more sincere we are, that actually worsens the situation.
Yeah.
Brain thinks we're doing something about it. But how does pain and anxiety connect, and is pain a bad thing?
Is pain a bad thing? Well, I think like all things in life, right? Um, One has to have balance.
Mhm.
So if there was no pain in the world, there could be no growth in some way.
True.
Um, why I say that is because in overcoming a barrier or a challenge that is physically or emotionally painful, through tried experience, the feeling you get when you overcome it is elating, empowering. It's, as I say, it's the feeling of triumph and at the same time growth.
Yeah.
So, arguably, one might want a life of comfort with
Mm-hmm.
no pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we argue that discomfort is maybe semantics, but pain would be the symptomatic effect of the verb discomfort, right? Um, so
There's the English teacher coming. The
so it's
English
like I was saying some of the other day when we call us say I've got a disease, it's
mm,
dis-ease
it
of the
is
body, right?
exactly.
Why I'm
Yeah.
saying this is because as we know and as we've discussed before, the mind sends messages to the body.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, yes, external world can give you pain. You can have an accident, you can fall over, you could trip. Anything externally can have a physiological impact. I'm not saying that I live in an alternate universe where I have complete mastery of my body, that I feel no pain. Though there are some individuals in the world who do claim that, and arguably so, because of what they've trained their mind and body and soul to experience. And we can go into that, from your firewalking to anything other, right? But a lot of clients come to me going, my body is just like this. It's very reductionist, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just really tight. I'm
They
just
have
not
expected
flexible.
that fact. Yeah,
I've just got this injury and I'll never be able to run again. So we just can't do that. I've
yeah,
got this health condition. It prevents me from doing anything explosive or where I sweat. So I can only walk. And I get these constantly. And there's a part of me, the martial arts in me, just wants to slap them and go, like, I know that is the wrong methodology. There's no
right.
empathy, there's no understanding. But
Yeah.
because I
But there is
learned
a
very
point of
young, pain is a relative feeling.
mm,
I injured my back yesterday in football. I came
mm-hmm,
home, I iced it for an hour, I stretched for an hour, I then put heat rub on it for an hour. I ended up going to sleep at 2 in the morning. But I
mm-hmm.
had to do it to learn the lesson of how to rehabilitate that physiological injury. And that was just because we played football and I was cold and I did a movement, I saved an amazing shot. But the point
Oh,
is, pulled something in my back, right? And I've got a martial arts student to teach at 8 a.m. in the morning. I could
right.
catastrophize, cancel my client, be like,
Mm,
I'm in pain, I can't move. But I learned to master pain. It's a feeling, it's a wave, and it will subside. I may not be able to eliminate it like a switch because I'm not a magician, but I can do a process of physiology combined with my mental resilience, combined with my emotional understanding to push myself, conscious breathing, to make fluidity within my body, oxygenate myself, use, like I say, the heat and the ice therapies. There's so much which you do quite naturally when you understand it, but to educate one on that side of things is one thing, but then to go further, when you've done all those aspects with the client, let's say, done all this flexibility work, told them to do heat work, told them to journal, done all sorts of random things, and they still are so tense. And often I find it's in the hips, the lower back, or
yeah.
the upper back. And you said something amazing off camera, which even blew me away,
Mm.
because as you said it, I was like, that's two of my clients already.
Okay,
What did you say again?
I'll come to that part in a moment. But before that, we we talk about expression a lot in this business without anxiety workshops, and expression uh, has a direct relationship with anxiety. If we don't have the feeling of safety, then we don't express it, or we overexpress, or we talked about codependency in one of the episodes as well. And this anxiety is something that relates to that kind of situation. And
Yeah.
initially, I was about to say that pain is an indicator or a communicator. And then I said, what is communication? It's a form of expression. So, pain is a form of expression. And when the pain is trying to tell you something, if you don't take care of that back injury, etc., it's going to worsen. So, it's pointing it out over there. And the more you start ignoring or not expressing, or using pain as an anchor for an excuse or something like that, you say, this is my body condition and this is who I am, then it goes
Ooh.
to a different level of situation where we are.
Comes chronic pain.
Yes, we say, I mean, I think in Tolle's book, he mentioned that it's like a thorn, and instead of fixing the thorn, what we start doing is we try to create a wall around it, boundary around it, we cover it up. We say, I have a thorn, so I cannot do this thing. And instead of fixing the real problem, we have put some nice cream around it, and we have covered it up, we have put a scarf around it, etc. But the problem is the thorn is still there,
Mhm.
and that keeps worsening the truth was to actually go and fix that thorn, which we did not, but we did all sorts of stories around it. to create
And
our.
you know what you've made me think, and we will go back to the issue of the lower back tension and the upper back tension. And I threw the hips in there as well because we didn't speak about that off camera. A little curveball for you, see if you have any ideas around that. But I knew you would. I knew you would. I knew you would.
About the hips,
Um,
about the hips. Yeah,
my hips don't lie. So yeah. The point is, oh gosh, digressions. The point is, in what you just mentioned there, I recognize also exactly how you're describing the physical pain is the same relationship with emotional pain and
hmm,
then mental. Because, like
yeah,
you say, if one doesn't have the ability to communicate, express, let go, let out emotion, it sits
yeah,
within. And then we've talked about that recent emotion, resentment, bitterness, tension, fear, and also lack of self-belief, like anger. You send these heavy emotions around yourself. Naturally, what do emotions become? They become thoughts.
mm,
So in that process now, you're holding on to all this weight. And then when someone sees you in a meeting, they make the comment, why you feel so low? You look really down, you know? And then you smile it off. No, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right. And I see this all the time, as I say. And then I pull that person to the side. And next thing you know, I'm in a 2 hour therapy session, you know, because they're trying their hardest to mask it.
yeah,
But as we're saying, you know, if you ignore the emotional, it then becomes physical as well. So I know we talked initially about physical, just from a standpoint of injury or rehabilitation, but
yeah,
people develop physical ailments, and we're not talking about illness is one thing, you know, in terms of, but chronic pain illnesses
hmm,
off the back, sciatica, you know,
yeah,
things like that. Friends of mine, family members, you know, they've done the whole physio side of things, found no respite, and then
hmm,
they've gone to popping pills, and then found no respite, and then
hmm,
they've gone to some alternative thing, found no respite, come back, you know, and they go circling round and round and round, but only looking at things symptomatically, if that makes sense, rather than how it works all holistically together, the
yeah.
mind, the body, the soul.
Here I have a couple of proven points from the past, and some of them have come out of my mistakes. But I found that at the end of it, it all comes down to the emotions in the middle of it. So if you remember the simple model that we created, S for social well-being, I for individual well-being, M for monetary well-being, P for physical well-being, L for love life, which is relationship, and in the middle of it I put E for emotional well-being. So
Right.
everything in our life is some version of a decision, some version
Mm,
of a choice. In fact,
mm,
are probably the only organisms who take decision, because every other organism is kind of programmed more or less, even if they are a very highly intelligent, let's say dolphin, elephants. There are many animals who are very intelligent, but there is a boundary to that intelligence, and humans are the ones who can actually decide between two things when they're
mm,
taking. And all these pain, these responses, all these expressions are micro decisions which are adding up in our life. And behind a decision is an emotion. And
mm,
behind that emotion slash decision balance is the simple sense whether you're feeling safe about taking the decision or not safe about feeling taking the decision. In fact, sometimes take people take wrong decisions because that is more familiar, and that is more familiar meaning it made them feel safer to take a wrong decision, just because it made them feel better about it. So just to, yes, yes,
Go
if
on,
I,
no, go on, keep going. Then if you got more, if you got more, I'm just eager to ask you a question. But go on.
this is where the
Mm,
physical aspect of the pain crosses the boundary into the emotion and mental aspect, and it
mm,
connects with her the subconscious and conscious. That connection comes in and it creates a barrier. So what
mm,
happens there? So, for example, if you are completely asleep, your body is really doing well inside because the subconscious is making you breathe well, sleep well, digest well. The subconscious is very intelligent inside to take care of it. And the moment we wake up, then there is that interruption that is happening. When that interruption keeps on happening again and again, micro pains and micro issues, that starts being blocked in certain parts of the body. You slouch in a certain way, you keep the leg in a certain way, you put your hand in a certain way, or especially neck, because wherever there is support involved. And this is why, and this is where I'll tell you what Coach Inayat was saying about off camera when I mentioned about lower back pain. It is more out of a joke, but it is so true that it has become very a fun joke to do. Whenever people say, I have chronic back pain, I ask them if they're worried about money or something to do with their security in life. And 9 out of 10 people say, how did you know that? And yeah, I'm worried about money if it is lower back pain. And I'm not claiming to be a scientist to connect these kind of things, etc. Is more a correlation and a coincidence and observations. But what happens is, when people are worried about their security, they tend to sit in a different way. They tend to sit in the same position instead of moving, and so forth. And when you start doing this, in fact, sitting itself is could be what's the word called, repetitive injury. Sitting without moving can be a repetitive injury.
Mm,
You are harming your body for that long,
you're right.
and then later
You're
you
making me
have
move. You're making me move.
you were asking about the hips. Hips is about
Mm,
flexibility and freedom. There are many people,
mm,
depending on the culture, they have been given a lot of limiting beliefs. And
mm,
people who are free in their hips have different kind of beliefs, and people who are not free in their hips have different kind of beliefs. Now you might have seen I use the word different, and I did not say which is right or
mm.
which is wrong. Right? But
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah,
different.
yeah. No, that's why I'm intrigued.
Those are different kind of belief systems, so that pain has got stuck in that side. Yeah. But you were about to ask me something or share
Yeah, no, no.
something.
Literally, it was along these lines. Because two of my clients, they're quite
Mm-hmm.
successful.
Mm-hmm.
Kids go private school,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet, they're the ones who hold this lower back tension you talk about.
Right.
And interestingly, now we talk about hips.
Mm-hmm.
One of them specifically is very tight on the hips. Now, often we will talk about the physiological ramifications,
Mm-hmm.
which start from the feet.
Mm-hmm.
That his ankle's concave, or like, the arch is not strong enough, or he doesn't use his toes enough when he's walking, like all these different, which is now having reverberations up to the knee, which is then causing the hip issue, which is causing the back issue. So we're looking at all the physiological side, right? And there is obviously a standpoint there to suggest that that there's work to be done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not to ignore that, but what I'm recognizing more and more and more, this is just the cumulative tension you've held,
Yeah.
which has not allowed your body to be fluid. So even like his toes, they
Rest.
cringe up, they
Rest.
go like that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I will flatten them out, and then I will bend my toes at the knuckle, right? So these small joint messages to me illustrate allegorically and symbolically tension, right? So yes, I can look here like a
In fact,
physio and be like, oh, your ankle's bending and this and that and whatever. And we do the recreational movement stuff. But really at the core of it, I'm like, you're just tense, mate.
so here I'll share 2 points. Okay, let me take some lessons from a photographer friend who specializes in schools. He takes pictures of children in schools. And in fact, this is one of his USPs, and I hope he considered this as free advertisement. Uh, he makes these children laugh like anything. He says dad jokes in front of them. He says, instead of saying say cheese, say smelly socks, and so forth, and children burst into laughter. And because children can be in different kind of situations, moods, and so forth, and there is a stranger in the school taking photographs, etc. But when he starts doing this, the expression is different. And in the same line, and we can try this on the call or later as well, you can try it at home. When these photographers, and especially with models and so forth, and they ask you to take, uh, they are there to take a nice picture, they ask you to think of something nice in your life. There is this bride, very serious,
mm,
thinking about the wedding day and thinking if everything is going fine. And the photographer says, can you think of that flower or that moon or something? I mean, your teddy bear or
yeah,
whatever, or think of your mom or grandma saying something nice. And that moment they click. And that picture that is captured is so happy.
mm,
But and the candidate themselves are surprised that I was very stressed out.
mm,
And but how could you capture such a happy image of me? Because
mm,
that person asked them, can you think of that happy moment? Similarly, on the other side, and this shows the effects of social media. I recently saw a group picture of a group of friends, my friends,
mm,
and I knew that there was a couple there who were going through separation, and they were really, really, really stressed.
mm.
But in the picture, they looked so happy because
Okay.
I just asked them this, etc., and click the picture at that moment. It does not share. Where I'm
Mm,
trying to go here is how you respond inside is changing the expression.
mhm,
But if you reverse it, if you consciously change your response, your pain response will start changing differently. So
mm,
that is the first one. The
mm,
second one is, speaking of people with money or without money, there
mm,
are enough rich people with back problems.
mhm.
Probably many people, and in fact I know people whose hobby is to go to the hospital with
Yeah.
huge respect. I'm saying they're actually kind of, it's not that they're looking forward to that problem, they have become so familiar with that situation that that feels safe. But if they want to take a step back and change the response, like I was saying with the photographer, they will understand this pain is telling me something.
Mm,
We are not asking people to become Olympians tomorrow and always be flexible and always be healthy. That's not what we are looking for. But what and you tell me if you agree, I'm asking people to listen to their pain as a friend and change an emotional response so that their anxiety, their low energy or unhappiness or dis-ease goes to a level of ease, level of joy. I'm talking micro joy. I'm not saying people should always be happy and jumping around. I mean, I would be really worried if somebody is doing that 24/7.
well,
So,
like we said, because look, to interject there, this is a good point, right?
yeah,
Because some people, in the attempt to not rock the boat or create emotional awkwardness, will
yeah,
mask their emotional response, right?
yeah,
So, not in a place of, like you say, maybe in life they've got certain struggles which they think about, but some people have the ability in a moment to find some joy, right? So
yeah,
they genuinely are smiling in the moment, even if later they become sad again. I'm talking about the opposite, where when you walk in a room, you're feeling sad or you're feeling low or you're feeling anxious or you're feeling something.
yeah.
And rather than working through that emotion, you cover it with a conscious mirroring of another emotion that you're not feeling, and you're not doing it from a place of centeredness. As I say, you're doing it in a conscious, forced manner.
So there are two reasons why people do it, and I'm telling as a recovering people pleaser,
Mhm,
and with some who has had abuse as a child. Um, People do that to make the other person happier or at least look happier, because as a child, when they made when they did something in the future or the parent said well done and they were happy, the child felt safe.
yeah.
As they grew, They cannot tolerate another person being sad, so they try to be the clown in the room or do something about it. Now, as long as they do it uh, while keeping their self love intact, that is an amazing place to be. And they are spreading joy even in the time of crisis, and so forth. But if they do a lot of that while ignoring their own emotion, then after some time the fountain dries up, and they need something else externally to make themselves or other persons happy, because they have forgotten themselves. As a
And
simple example.
I take it one further. Like the why I raised it is because I'm recognizing as you're speaking, um, many of those people also they'll heal everyone else first, like you say, care for everyone else first before themselves. And so I gave the analogy to a business colleague the other day who had opened up. It's like if I have nothing in my cup and somebody else tries to pour anger in it, how what are you drinking from?
Yeah.
And eventually, if you have no means of pouring out whatever's just been thrown in, you start retaining it, right? And so, even though you're a smiley, jolly person who's like, I forget everything's been 2 minutes, I don't worry too much, I don't argue too much, I'm not conflict based, like, but you're extremely worried about caring for others before yourself,
You're
essentially.
missing out on your own nutrition or your own nourishment. And sticking to the same example of the cup and anger flowing in or emotion flowing in, or and so forth, a wonderful coach once told me that instead of trying to remove someone else's anger, fill your cup with self love.
Mhm.
So if you fill your cup with positive emotions, nourishing emotion, helpful emotions for yourself, the other person's anger, the other person negativity, etc., first of all starts diluting, gets overflown away, it spills away. And this is where you will see that people walk in, and even if the entire situation is very unhelpful, they find helpful things there, and they can keep their energy steady. And this is where, coming back to the physical pain side of things, soldiers, captains, moms. I mean, great respect to mothers who go through huge amount of pain, right? They do that, but they should always do that while keeping their self-love. If they do it while forgetting themselves, they slowly become bitter, and that pain shows up in the shoulder, upper back, lower back. Upper back is about support. Lower back is about security. Thighs is about freedom of expression. Generic things. They are just observations. Nothing.
I'm interested in that hips one though, as in like it's when you said about belief. Like, can you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean by beliefs of the individual?
So I'll actually use a real example. Um,
Please.
one of my friends, they were brought up with the fact that, by the way, this person had a dancing performance at the age of 4 in kindergarten. Okay.
Okay.
And there were about 5 children, and she was the backup person.
Right.
One child fell sick. They called the backup child, saying, "You just join the stage." Since she was the backup person, she had not practiced enough. She did not do a proper dance.
Okay.
And all her siblings, her friends, and her family laughed at her,
Okay.
making fun of her, and you are a clown and you are a joker and those kind of things. And since that day, she felt very restrictive in expressing, and in her family in general, as she grew up, expressing their own opinion, expressing things openly was not looked nicely. So
Oh
she became
wow.
more and
Um,
more limited in her beliefs,
yeah.
to the fact that uh, it started showing as hip problems, right? Now, as a grown up, when we were going through these kind of workshops, etc., We were not even talking about physical pain. We were not even talking about hips, nothing. We were talking about hobbies, and one of her hobbies in as a child was badminton.
Okay.
And so, as part of the actions and so forth, this person started playing badminton um, in a local leisure center with
Yeah.
friends. Okay,
Yeah.
just to be there.
Yeah.
Still, she had never danced in life because she felt so much restriction and so much of hip problem. And she was one of the persons who said, I am this person because of this person." Kind of story was there. While she was playing badminton, in the adjoining room there was a Zumba class going on
Okay.
with the music.
Yeah.
And as she started opening up physically while playing badminton, she could actually feel her hips moving.
uh,
She comes back next workshop and says, "I was not trying to dance, but when I was trying to play badminton, I forgot about my limiting belief about dancing. And my body responded to the music, and I was surprised at my body. And it felt very free." That was the word she used. She said, "I felt extremely free in my life. I had no mom, dad to tell me off."
Thank you.
So
You know what
that
you've
is
done? You've just
limit.
shown me something phenomenal. Because, like I say, I mentioned this on all podcasts, right? Why we do this is because, I'm not God. I'm just on a pursuit of learning the human condition. And in your experience of the same pursuit, some of this knowledge it's invaluable, right? Because what you've just explained to me is something. So conformity. Many people who conform are stiff in the hips. I just recognized it as soon as you were explaining it. I was like, many first child syndromes. Like, there's so many reasons, right? But it's about that expression you mentioned, whether it's verbal or physical,
Yeah,
whether it's choice related, right? But I'm recognizing more and more and more, and that's why sometimes the hip thing is related to the lower back, right? Because the responsibility of having to make certain choices for the idea of security, not being able to express what I really want to do. My brother wanted to be a professional footballer. He ends up selling properties. Like, it's that kind of thing, right?
yeah,
He plays a sport where his legs are mobile, but he can't touch his toes, right?
right.
Whereas me, went down the arts route. So without knowing innately, just because of my rebellious nature within choice and wanting to not conform, have my own voice, maybe through the mercy of my traumas, right? Because this is what we talked about earlier. Would we eliminate pain? No, because in the adversity, this is what's defined me as in terms of
So,
my purpose, my growth, and my understanding, right? I had to learn to dance. I was like, I'm going to learn to dance. I'm going to do martial arts. I'm going to do the things I want to do. I'm going to do the arts. I'm going to walk around a room and recite the alphabet in theatrical mode singing, right? Like, I went and pursued all these things and constantly had an outlet. As I was explaining yesterday, I had my Business Network International presentation to a room full of 60 business people, and they loved it because most people come in with a very calculated discussion about what I do in it. But what we're like, we just tell stories, right? And in that process, telling the story about myself, I even recognized what the arts did for me before I understood the
yeah,
therapeutic aspects mentally and consciously and theoretically. I
yeah,
recognize, as you described, I am constantly having the ability to express myself with freedom. And therefore, that is why when a 40-year-old man comes to me now, it's like, why are you so fluid and this and that? Because I don't live like a monk necessarily, that I'm all hours of the day doing it. But it's something that, as you say, in practice, with belief and emotion, your body just takes it on. It's a machine, it is
this is where
universal.
many religions actually tell the monks to do physical exercise as well, right? Monks are the best martial artists in certain places. And people might say, "Hey, you are a monk, you don't have any money, nothing, so why the hell do you need to do these kind of things?" Of course there are certain social reasons and donation reasons, etc. But the spiritual reason is you have to express your inner energy. And many times these kind of pain, before we close today, I wanted to
Mm.
share, it's not just leg pain, back pain, the bigger pains that are there. Even pain in the ears, pain in the eyes, pain in the throat, pain somewhere, small things. I knew somebody who was going through anxiety and was not able to swallow pills properly,
Mm.
water.
Yeah.
uh, I think something happened
Yeah,
for a
froze for a
second. We are
second. You
back.
were saying that they weren't
But
able to swallow pills properly or certain things.
yeah, so but when they express themselves, they actually practiced singing for a little bit, and it released the emotions from here. In fact, there is a reason why our expression is between head and heart. Our heart is here, our head is here, our expression is here. We got to combine head and heart to speak out of love and thought, right, with courage. And if your expression is stuck there, then you'll keep feeling that pain here. It might be a micro pain, not like the pain in a football injury, but this is still a pain, and it is telling you something. Start expressing. And what's one of the best ways to do that? Go sing a song, whistle, do something.
It's so interesting that, like I say, because in combining, our business models, our understanding, as you know, ample artistic, mental, physical, life, and educational, right? Like I say, what we're discussing here is teaching me even more to now give back to my clients because as a singer, I know it to a certain degree, but what you're making me realize, even if let's say, we don't have the science down to a T, but like you say, anecdotally, coincidentally, or just patterns of data being studied, there seems to be something intuitively there.
Yeah.
Because lived experience is the best experience, in my opinion. So yeah, bro, what an amazing podcast, man. Because genuinely speaking, like I know we could probably talk about this more as well. Organs and internal physical pain. I talked maybe we discussed it. I say I talked, but because of the questions I was posing, and maybe because of the thoughts in my mind due to what I've been experiencing with clients recently, all these physical ailments. And as I say, there's people in my family who have even got chronic issues of pain and back problems and whatnot. And there's one who is extremely down and out on his luck, and there's another
Yeah.
who's extremely wealthy,
Yeah. So
and they've both got financial security issues. So when you're
yeah,
discussing this stuff, and then like you say, when we talk about
I, I, I I'm not able to hear you that well, but I'm able to get. Yeah, I think
yeah,
we are both.
there was a little break. Anyway, look, the point is,
Yeah.
yeah, I know we're coming to a close. I was just
So
trying to
here,
reiterate. Yeah,
can I close with a very
cool.
um, unconventional way of dealing with pain?
Go on.
Okay. Of course, people should take medication and, of course, listen to health practitioners. That's for sure, and definitely move their body, whether it is dance or martial arts. But I found one additional thing that has helped a lot of people with pain. Speak to your pain as a friend,
Mhm.
and thank the pain, and you will see how quickly that headache goes away, how quickly that back pain goes away.
Mhm.
The more you resist that pain, the more it stays.
Mhm.
And so what you do is you got to do something about it. You cannot live with it. I'm not asking people to live with the pain. What I'm asking people is listen to it as a friend, and
Mhm.
that has a direct impact with any kind of anxiety. So let's
Mhm.
say right now, I have a pain in my ears, and I say, all right, this has been going on for a while. I need to do something about it. And instead of getting annoyed, which will simply increase the pain,
Mhm.
I say, thanks for, something needs to be done. I'll take care of you. Really, I mean, it sounds very crazy when you say, when you're talking like that, but one of the best talks is self talk, right? With self
You
love.
said it. You said it, mate. You said it. Like I paraphrase you there. But one of my lines is yeah, like most important conversation one will have is the conversation with themselves, right? And you're so right in saying it, because tried and tested, I've experienced it. Some may know that I went through addiction problems myself, and
Mhm.
in taking painkillers, essentially that's what I was addicted to. People can figure out what the street version is, but basically you're not willing to deal with any discomfort, right? And so it builds in time where your physiology now is so dependent on it. When you stop the painkillers, like, your body goes into a full physical meltdown of pain,
Yeah.
insomnia, shakes, diarrhea, sweats, everything. And you think it's just physiological the first few
Mhm.
times you do it. But later in life, the more you try, and when you actually are able to overcome it, if ever anyone ever is able to overcome it, and that's why I implore people, if anyone has any addiction problems, please do come to me, because I've proven it to myself and tried to prove it to others as well, that the mind can literally, imagine this, 2 months later, after I've cleaned my whole body, went on a holiday, got on a plane to come back, and I started having thoughts about taking the drug, my body went into withdrawal. 2 months later, when all the physical symptoms have gone seemingly, the
Yeah.
mind is that powerful in terms of the memory and the
Yeah.
feeling, and like you say, the narrative you tell yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll just leave that there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that powerful story. That helps a lot of our audiences. And again, as usual, thank you for a wonderful talk.
No,
I
no,
know.
thank you, sir. I don't think you realize what you've done for my clients, man. Like, listen, I'm gonna have to give you some commission, bro, if they put more sessions with me, because I'm gonna implement this knowledge now. Even like singing, like you say, like I do singing workshops and artistic workshops, but I'm gonna get some of my PT clients now to do some singing, and they're gonna be like, well, what's this, coach? I'm like, you will see, you will see. Release that chakra. So, yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you again. And to our
Amazing.
audiences, thank you for being with us. And we practical thing is listen to your pain as a friend and speak to it, do something about it so that it can help you heal and feel better in your anxious moments. If you have any other questions, please feel free to send it to us. Remember, taking help is a sign of strength. So you are not alone. Thank you again,